It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
We decided to do sort of an anecdotal survey. We wanted to do a little study to say, okay, what do young people think about money? What are some young folks' views on money? So we had a few questions we asked them, and we asked folks all the way from as young as 11 years old all the way to 24 years old. So we're kind of like, because if we asked my kids at 3 and 5, I don't know that they would have gotten it. And so we asked them a few questions. And one of the questions we asked was, what or how much is rich? And it was beautiful for us. Okay, so we have some of the older folks say, hey, $2 million. It's not good enough to be a millionaire anymore. You got to be a multimillionaire. One of the folks said, hey, getting a beer with dinner and not worrying about it. Meaning when I go out.
That wasn't the 11-year-old.
That was not the 11-year-old, I hope. But you go out and you have a drink with your dinner and it's not a big deal. And then someone else even said, taking 2 to 3 vacations per year without penny pinching, being able to actually go on vacation. So that made a lot of sense to us. So then we asked another question. We said, all right, well, how much money do you need to retire? Obviously, you guys are far away from retirement. How much? Well, someone said 8 times your salary by the age of 60. That they probably haven't been listening to the money guy.
They figured if they put a multiplier on there, it made it
seem a lot better, right? Someone said $100,000 per year. I guess they were saying, if I could somehow generate that, then that would be. Another person we asked said $450,000. Really interesting. They nailed that number. And then
maybe they have a pension.
And then one of our team members' children here said $1 million. That's how much you need to retire. If you have $1 million, then you can retire. And so then we asked a few questions. We said, okay, well, how do you become rich? How does one go about becoming wealthy? And we had passive income was a solution. That person's obviously been looking at YouTube videos. Someone said asset allocation.
Okay.
That was the teacher's pet who was just trying to come up with something that sounded good. This next one, become TikTok famous. Do you know what TikTok is?
I do know what TikTok is, but I embarrassed myself in the content meeting because I was like, that's not even available in the United States anymore. You're like, guys, it's like that was pre-pandemic. So, that shows how I keep up with social apps like that.
And then the other solution was how do you become rich was save and put money in the bank. And that's actually pretty intuitive. That's a really good answer. And then the last question we asked is, okay, what sort of jobs do rich people have? What vocations do they pursue? And the answers were engineers, which I like, influencers, who I'm guessing is the same person that mentioned being TikTok famous. Someone said business and finance is not bad. And then one person said the owner of Amazon. And that's certainly
that could be profitable.
An accurate assessment.
So here's what I'm starting to be curious about. This just hit me. You go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's the government documents. You can go pull down all the data of occupations. Is influencers officially on the list? We need to go. Somebody needs to go to bls.gov and see if influencers is now an official title, because we heard that come up often. And it is interesting that we live in times that you can actually make a living being a content creator, an influencer. Let's talk about why is this actually important? Why is this concept of making sure young folks actually have good financial skills?
I think one of the very first reasons is, we are huge fans of The Millionaire Next Door. And one of the things that they talk about in The Millionaire Next Door is this idea of economic outpatient care. And what I think is so beautiful, I know you'll define in a second, is they talk about it from both sides, both the person receiving it as well as the person giving it. But perhaps we ought to define what is economic outpatient care.
Well, it's really so they don't need it and you don't give it. It's really what you're hoping, because this failure to launch is a real thing where there's more and more statistics out there that show that adult children are having a hard time going out on their own. And if you can get them in the habit of saving early enough, I think that actually will instill some habits that create success, but it also will help you in your own financial independence journey if you're a parent or grandparent, because the less you have to give because they're self-sufficient, the more you'll have for your own retirement savings.
And if you are a young person out there, perhaps one of the things you want to do is actually leave the nest. You don't want to have to depend on mom and dad to be the one allowing you to reach all of your financial dreams. So if you can understand how to build wealth outside of receiving it from family, from mom and dad, then you're probably going to set yourself up for long-term success.
I'll give the experience share that I switched majors in college so I wouldn't have to live in my parents' basement.
That was the
kid you not.
motivation.
That was because I had friends in college. I wanted to ensure 100% that I'd have a job when I graduate so we could all live in Atlanta together. And because that was the plan we all talked about. And with my first major, which was finance, I was scared I was going to be stuck at a sales job that I'd be laid off within 3 months because I didn't have any wealthy relatives or family or anybody else. So I chose accounting because everybody who graduated with an accounting degree from the University of Georgia pretty much had
a
jobs
job.
lined up before they graduated. So I was going the path that ensured hanging out with friends, not living in the parents' basement.